begin.
Listen carefully.
Let's begin.
Welcome to the Politics Podcast. They are all bloodsuckers. And say goodbye to that theme song, our wonderful opening theme song. There's no good time to say goodbye to something you love. It's like putting a beloved pet down. But whoever owns the copyright to that is making a stink out of it, even though we paid for the licensing rights. So we're just not in the mood to fight the fight. Maybe one of my coworkers is. I'm, of course, Brian McWilliams here with Brian Nichols, John Odermatt, and Lou Perez. But I just don't see the fight in your eyes, gentlemen. I think we just get a new song.
Well, I think that it's interesting, the YouTube structure for when you dispute a copyright claim, it just goes back to be reviewed by the person who made the copyright claim. Right. So some scumbag could sell their copyright to Pawn 5. You buy it there, and you use it on YouTube, and they can dispute it and just run a scam. So
it's great.
I think I should probably let you guys know that I am the oh yeah guy. So that's the only part that I dispute is my oh yeah. The rest you can keep the rest of it, but oh yeah,
do it.
All right. Well, we have quite a few interesting topics to discuss. I guess if we just go in order, that we'll start with, I don't even know what you call this, man. A clever gentleman who tried to subvert and escape justice by faking his own death. Now, I've not thoroughly read this story. Who put this in here? Who's the one? Is it you,
so
Nichols?
I put it in there.
It
came. I found it from Jarvis Best, who, if you guys aren't following him on Twitter, you have to. He's a great follow. It's Jarvis _best, and he had tweeted about this demented story, and I think this might be an example of a story where the crime is horrific, but the ploy to escape prosecution is so hilarious. So it is at one point gross and disgusting and horrific and awful, and then also just really fucking funny. So this guy was found guilty of rape, which is
hilarious.
Awful, which no, you're getting the two. I'm my bad. I did a bad job. I'm
dyslexic. I'm audible dyslexic. So
my bad. So this guy was convicted of rape and then faked his death and went to jump ship, and I believe went to Scotland.
Yeah.
Yep. And he was extradited, and when he came back, he tried to pretend like he was a completely different person with the most ridiculous accent, and he's in a wheelchair, and he needs like a breathing apparatus, not unlike a scuba, like it's an oxygen tank, but he might as well have a fucking scuba mask on and be doing that. And he is so ridiculous. And if we could bring up clips of him,
this is the guy right here, right?
Yep. He should have said that he got it. Like that lady in the UK who she like bumped her head and then just had a super stereotypical Chinese accent.
Yeah,
he could have pulled that off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, forgot about that.
So this clip would have been after he'd faked his death, went to Scotland, and then was extradited back to the U.S. And this is like an interview that was taken.
And by the way, John, before you hit play, I just love the line from his lawyer. You're allowed to move. You're allowed to go somewhere else. You're allowed to have a different name. And apparently fake your own death.
Yeah.
That's the part he left out. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we'll play this and enjoy. This is the funny part, by the way.
Oh, no,
that's a right no.
Oh,
nice lady. Is he doing a Jerry Lewis impersonation?
That's a right no.
And that's all you need. All you need is that 6 seconds. It's a right low blow. And this guy, I mean, the conspiracy goes so deep that he said that while he was in hospital, they tattooed him. They put very identifiable tattoos on his arms, which they had used through Interpol to find out that this guy was a scumbag fucking rapist who was apparently from Rhode Island. He's doing harm to Rhode Island, guys, and your reputation for sure.
Population too. I mean, you harm one person in Rhode Island, that's like harming 75 Californians.
Yeah, the whole per capita thing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you guys believe him?
Yeah, I mean, he convinced me.
Well, if you're not convinced yet, maybe after this next clip you will be. This is another clip.
Play it before I comment on.
I would like to go back to being a normal husband. But I can't, because I can't breathe. I can't walk. People say that's an act. Let me try to stand up.
Oh my God.
He did stand up, though. He did stand up right there. He had to be pushed back in the chair. He actually sounds like he's doing an impersonation of Kiefer Sutherland in
Dark City.
Dark City. Yeah, right?
Yeah. For some reason, Kiefer Sutherland was hyperventilating the whole time he was in that movie. Like that was his choice. That was his big choice. Yeah.
That was his acting. That was how he was going to win his Oscar. But he talks exactly like this.
I heard a little bit of Conor McGregor in this guy. He's supposed to be Scottish, but I heard a little bit of Conor McGregor come out, and we know his troubles as well.
I just want to go back to my Lucky Charms.
Well, so the whole thing goes back to 2008, right? And he had claimed that he had died back in 2020 from late stage non-Hodgkin lymphoma. But then it was during a COVID vaccine, right, that the nurses identified, to your point, Lou, those tattoos and were able to bring us to where we are today. But like, how did the nurses know to look out for these tattoos?
Right.
There had to have been I don't know, some sort of information that he was in Scotland. I don't. How else would that happen?
They probably got a message on the wire saying, "Hey, just putting this out there. There's this super creepy fucking guy who's just
found him,
been around, yeah." And they're like, "Oh, it's this guy. It's this dude." Yeah.
I wonder if there is, it makes you think now, like how many nurses are actually undercover Interpol agents? And you got access. You can check people's bodies. You can see their medical records. You can talk to their friends and families. It's probably a good little embedded asset there.
I mean, you joke, but
I'm only half joking. I honestly think about it. I mean, you're in there. You got access to their DNA. You can sneak out some blood anytime and test it.
Well, quite frankly, if they're not doing that, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Well,
agreed.
PPD just had Andrew Bustamante on his show, and he's an old CIA agent, and he was talking through like the number of undercover like CIA plants that they're assets. They're just everywhere. And how like they were talking about Tucker Carlson in the Vladimir Putin interview, and he was like, "Listen, you can watch that interview, and you can tell Vladimir Putin is a trained, like he's trained in like the deep state shit." And like Tucker Carlson, you can tell he was just flubbing through. If you were a deep state asset, like the things he was doing do not correlate at all. But he's like, "Yeah, we look for that." I forget there's a term he used, like that you would know when the person was an asset. But like. Now, I don't know, spidey senses, man. Like, how many folks do we know in the Liberty Movement who are deep state assets?
Well, it's like they say, there's no such thing as a former CIA agent. Once you work for the CIA, you always work for the CIA. They don't fire anybody. I've had people in companies I work for who said they used to work for the CIA, and immediately I'm like, okay.
I think your mustache looks like it works for the CIA.
Yeah.
And your face is the mark. Like your face has no idea what that mustache is doing in the middle of the night, just making phone calls, John.
John left his big boy job and went solo.
Yeah. I wonder how he's funding that. Ratting out his friends.
Well, guys, something. I mean, back to this story. I mean, you look at this guy and you must be concerned about long COVID, because that's what he claims to have. The guy with the the scuba tank that he carries around is very, I'm sure he has sleep apnea too. He's got like that machine going all night.
The CPAP. Do we have to talk about the CPAP again? I feel like we brought up my CPAP last episode.
Oh, do you have CPAP?
Oh, I have one. Even though I obviously lean, mean fucking machine, I call it my sex helmet in the bedroom. But yeah, man, I have to use like my, I don't know, loose throat
neck
skin.
is too massive,
too much deep dicking down in the old days. I don't know.
Couldn't do it.
Could it be all of the blackout drinking, maybe making it harder to breathe? While
I'm sure that has some aspect in it, but that shouldn't loosen my throat skin up that much. Anyway, regardless, yeah, this guy's ridiculous. Who is the lady with him? Is that his wife? Did he remarry?
I don't
know.
And do we?
She also looks like an asset, but like
do we hear her fake
RuPaul's
accent?
Drag Race?
Yeah, what fake accent is she going with?
I would go with Norwegian or Scandinavian. I feel like not many people speak enough of that language to really poke you and test you on it. And they're all such ridiculous sounding accents. You can get away with it in most cultures.
Well, there was a whole lady, or was it a lady or a guy? I forget. But like, there was a interpreter who was at Nelson Mandela's funeral. Remember? And They were doing the sign language, and they weren't a real interpreter. They were just making shit up. So
they were interpretive
saying. Yeah,
the greatest stories of all time.
Adele's name. She just made freckle marks on her face, and that's how they caught her. They're like, that's not real.
Imagine the balls that takes to go up there, not knowing anything about doing sign language, and just standing up there and just making signals with your hands. It's
and
amazing.
Like Obama was there, like all the heads of state were there. So it's not like, this wasn't a big event by any stretch. Like, that's a big deal.
I imagine there must have been, if not a deaf person in the house when that was happening, a deaf person watching, and they're like,
"What the fuck?
What the fuck is going on?" Or they catch like, did they just call me a piece of shit? Like they just did, that answer for that, just accidentally. Anytime there was one time I was on the subway. And at a subway station in New York City, I came off and there was like a group of kids, and I thought they were like voguing, fighting with each other, but it turns out they're just a group of young deaf youthths
just having a conversation,
just having a convo.
Lou puts his hand on his firearm.
Whoa, calm down, guys.
Well, this is interesting. This guy was taking his leave of absence from the rape accusations and rape charges. So we didn't come back around to the fact that he fakes his death, then goes and does this insane accent, and then is found guilty of sexual assault in Utah, right? So
because of the DNA, right?
It must have been.
Yeah. They had a rape kit from, I think it's at 2018, 10 years later.
They had apparently they had like a huge backlog of rape kits. This story is so insane. I think it kind of started just like a dynamo effect, and like just snowballing with all these other like just terrible policies and things just not working well, where it's like, oh yeah, because of this fucking cretin, we find out that we've had a backlog of these rape kits. So for a decade women have been violated, and their freaking rapists are running free, putting on different accents and sitting down and breathing, and not breathing air freely, but breathing through oxygen tanks. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe we should finally get our shit together and make that, make sense of all that.
Well, and his victim was his ex-girlfriend, if I'm reading this right. The accuser was also a former girlfriend. He is accused of attacking her in her apartment in September of 2008, when she had come over to collect money from to collect money. She said he stole from her to buy a computer. When they interviewed him initially, he claimed she raped him and then threatened to have him killed.
This is one of those stories that it's hard to write, I would imagine.
I'm waiting for the Hollywood script of this. This is bonkers.
I don't
I
think
mean,
we
like
need to wait for it, guys.
just to tell
I
the
think-
story. There's so many things happening. Like it's confusing. Like
And the
tiny,
only
like,
guy that can probably
timeline
get
of
to play him
events.
is Christian Bale, because Christian Bale can just,
Well,
metamorphosize into
Philip
in the,
Seymour Hoffman would have been fantastic, but R.I.P.
Yeah.
could've
In
nailed
the
that
AP
role.
in the AP article, they also have they put the detail in that his girlfriend, who he subsequently raped, had suffered like a brain injury. And I'm thinking like, well, that's the only explanation how any woman would be near this fucking guy. It's either you suffered a brain injury or he lands in your hospital and you work for Interpol, and that's it. Like
He's
those
a
are the only
winner.
possibilities. Yeah.
He's cute. Come on.
So just to go back to those rape kits, because that is a real thing. And Utah, I guess, is one state going through them. Some states still have a backlog of hundreds of thousands of rape kits. But what's happened as some states have started to go through these is, people go and they do their 23andMe or those different, ancestry things. They figure out their family tree, and then it comes back in a rape kit. And, they don't track down maybe the person who did the rape didn't do 23andMe, but maybe their brother did. So they're able to track it to them. It's crazy. Some of these stories I had on way back when I did Felony Friday. I had on a couple different DNA experts, and basically, if you submit your information to 23andMe or any of those sites, you're basically giving up your whole family to any crime they might have done.
So basically, the future that Seth Rogen had talked about in Superbad, where there is just cum on everything to be able to test and see the bad guys, it became reality.
Exactly
with 23andMe.
exactly what I was trying to say.
Is there more to the story, or should we segue to the UK? Since
I don't know how there could possibly be more to this story.
I hope there is. I hope there's more to come. I want this man to be a permanent part of my life.
I mean, he's
don't
out
want
in
to
Salt
get it,
Lake
but I
now
want
with the
to be
Mormons.
adjacent. Yeah.
So the Mormons, I mean, they do their own thing out there. So we'll see what happens.
He's the new savior.
He's leading a church soon.
Yeah, exactly. So in the UK, where you can get away with an accent, apparently, and nobody knows. There's a fantastic video, John, if you can cue it up, where the United Kingdom has been so just demolished under the boot of authoritarianism under Keir Starmer, right? They come to your door if you post anything, quote unquote, hateful. If you protest, you're not allowed to protest certain things. You're not allowed to speak out against immigration. You're not allowed to make jokes. You can't do it or you go to jail. And of course, there's so many instances of people going to jail for longer for a social media post than actual convicted rapists. So it seems that maybe we finally hit the boiling point. And this is a video that just went live, I think, a couple of days ago of a lovely British woman objecting.
Good morning, guys.
My name's Phil Harris. I'm an enforcement agent at Watermoons PLC. I'm here on behalf of London Borough.
Can it go any louder?
Yeah, I know you're a little traitor, moron, wanker,
My intention
short moron, government bitch.
For your protection of mine and can be used in evidence.
Yeah. The courts are going down. You're going down. And you're going on YouTube, Facebook, Telegram. You're going to be made famous as a little traitor midget Gestapo cunt that you are.
Have a letter, madam.
Yeah.
Nobody can insult
up your
others like a
arse,
British
cunt.
person can.
You're going to prison soon. And you're going to be famous in about 2 minutes when I put this on Telegram. There's a group against are going to take you all to court for harassing people through getting money through menaces. So I hope you won't sleep at night again, you cunts, because you won't be soon, because you're all going to prison, you little fat midget. Fuck off! Don't get a proper job and stop harassing people, you cunts. You're going to get it. You're going to get your day in hell. You better start praying to God, you little bitch.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Tell me I didn't fire you up. That was like listening to the Rocky theme song. Love it. Somebody needs to put that in. We should remix that. That should be our new theme song.
What? Why was he there?
That part was left out.
I feel like the only reason he was there was to elicit that response. Like that's now a government. There's a whole section of the government in the UK where it's we're just here to get people to call us cunts. That's it. That's how we're gonna make money.
That's the IRS here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally he showed up because of whatever. She posted something mean online. That's it. And I love that the fact she is right. He did go viral. We're talking about him here on the most popular show on the internet. And I do think that the boiling point is there. I mean, there's so much going wrong in the UK. And then on top of it all, you got Keir Starmer pretending that they're doing the right thing. Like, he's now coming out. He's like, we're going to deport any immigrants that do crimes. And people are like, they're doing the crimes and you're arresting us. Like, we're going to jail. They're still doing the crimes. I love it. That chick is my spirit animal.
Well, I think when you look at a video like this and you see this guy, of course, this guy would have a government job going door to door harassing people. Like, it just makes no offense, Brian. He's bald, but bald, short, fat, doesn't speak well. Just an unimpressive human being. And I think that's an important part of this, is that it's the most unimpressive people who are attracted to these jobs that put the boot on the neck of, in this case, people in the UK. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the UK. They might be too far gone, really, to turn this thing around. I have a lot more hope here in the US that we can still fight back against this, and we're not as far down that path. But just when you see the people that are, attracted to these Gestapo type jobs, just the worst people out there.
Well, it's also one of those things too, where you do wonder, like, at what point, like, you're just doing your job? Is this the Nuremberg defense now for the current era? Because if you're jailing people for free speech offenses, if you're going to the house and harassing them, breaking up families, you don't know what's going to happen in prison. You don't know what's going to happen to somebody's family. This could completely alter their life, but you're just following orders. I mean, I'm amazed that the police in the UK have not risen up and fought back against these policies themselves. I mean, that's what's sickening to me. I would hope that wouldn't happen here in the US, but, like you said, people that are attracted to these positions.
There was one video that was same spirit, same energy, and it was a British guy who had a bunch of police in his house. I forget the reason, but he's just like, get the fuck out of my house, get the fuck out of my house. And it gets to the very end. It's like a 2-minute video. I was trying to find it. I just can't find it. But the very end of the video is like, next time you fucking come in, I'll jizz all your face. You come in when I'm in the middle of a wank. And it's just like, huh. Yeah, the British people are waking up. But yeah, literally the police just walked into his house. They didn't knock. They just waltzed straight in.
Well, the idea that, the Brits are waking up, you see that, but then you counterbalance it with that article I saw about them sending out like these like hot police officers, women, to go jogging, so that they can arrest guys for catcalling and whatnot. So it's like, okay, what do you get? What are you doing here? Because I mean, if
I got it right here, if I can share.
Yeah, if you want to share, if the roles were reversed, I mean, the women are attractive. They're not this, fat, goblin dude. If they were reversed, I do wonder what the woman in the house would say to them. She would probably call them a cunt. But yeah,
these women aren't friends out for a run. They're actually undercover police officers taking to the streets in Surrey as part of a new operation.
Want to take bets on who gets more cat calls? The one on the left or the one on the right?
Harassing female runners.
We get honked at, the staring, the hanging out the window just to look at us, and it just...
Well, they're not undercover anymore.
Look at people.
So prevalent.
And police are ready to intervene.
How many, what do you give it? How long?
Followed or shouted at, pulling people over.
You can't honk at them? Beat that.
Behaviours may not be criminal offences in themselves, but they still need to be addressed. And of course, the people that
that's insane.
Can you turn it up a
little
bit?
It might not be a crime itself, but it needs to be addressed.
Serious offences or more serious behaviours.
Yeah, the idea that police need to address that, as opposed to like, I don't know, parents, friends, whatever church you belong to, your social circle. Yeah.
How peaceful is the village of Surrey, where this is something that you need to expend resources on? Do you have nothing better to do? Is it that? I mean, is it that much of a problem that you don't have, say, a crime to stop, a molestation, a crime, a kid's grooming ring to break up? Maybe that instead of this. But also, how long is it until we read the story that these female cops have just started banging the people catcalling them? Because it reminds me of like, so often you hear these stories, especially when it comes to like, sexual things in the workplace, like the old joke. It's like, well, it's only harassment if the guy's not hot. guaranteed one of these girls will remember somebody that catcalled them and circle back when they're not being followed by another cop car and get it on.
This just has the same vibes though of the fitness influencer chicks at the gym who videotape themselves, and you have one guy who walks by and checks out her ass when she's wearing like literal volleyball shorts to the gym.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, like, what do you expect? Like the girl on the left, and everybody, oh, you're victim blaming. No, like the girl on the left is literally wearing clothes that accentuate her ass. Like that's just duh. No wonder dudes are gonna look. Like it's not like they're harassing. It's just they're looking. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty telling when the police department in the UK put out a call for pogs, fat ass white girls. They were pretty clear on what they were trying, what they were going after. It is going to be very problematic though when citizens start asking for the ethnic breakdowns of the catcallers who are arrested, because I remember years back. There were those videos like, oh, this is what it's like to be a woman, by herself in New York City. And there was a video, I forget how long the video was. It was, a 5-minute video of a woman walking around New York City. And she was criticized because damn near every guy who was catcalling her was a man of color, either a black guy, Hispanic guy. And people were like, how dare you do this? Like, where were the white men? Who are doing this? So I don't know what that culture is like in the UK, but I'm probably going to guess that it probably falls along similar lines. Like I bet dudes from the Caribbean in New York are very similar to dudes from the Caribbean in the UK, right, as far as what they're hollering at, and they're going to, and if that's the case, they're going to capitulate and, find a way to say that, what they're doing is culturally insensitive and xenophobic and racist and blah, blah, blah. And, and you spent all that money getting these, women with fat asses to jog. So
here, I made a meme to celebrate what we're just talking about.
Yeah. And also, isn't it's a little ironic though, that you're having these women jogging and there's a chance that they may lose the very ass that is helping them catch these crooks, right?
Here, I'll make it bigger.
There you go. Beautiful.
There we go.
You made this on the spot right now.
I had to be quick. Yeah.
Can we make an NFT and make some money on this shit?
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. God, the UK is such a dumb place. My God. Well, moving on then, as we have seen, the United Kingdom, renowned for its history, its culture up until the last year or so, where we look for history and culture here in the United States and documentation of these things is, of course, the Smithsonian, a famous world-renowned museum. And the Smithsonian, I guess, is fully funded by the government. Is that? I don't know. Because basically, the Smithsonian has gotten some fire, and deservedly so, for several things that were indeed politically motivated in their selection, which the most famous of and the funniest is the stereotypical, I guess, Black behavior patterns they had posted. And this was like in the Smithsonian's exhibit on like Black America. And it was basically telling you that there were racist things to expect Black people to do that white people took for granted, such as being on time. That was one of them. I think like another one was being polite. Like they're just the most ridiculous
emphasis on the scientific method.
Yes. Shit like that. And it was this like litany, this laundry list of things that were apparently racist, which is just things that people do in life to not be assholes. So it was both at the same time incredibly racist against Black people, if you're being honest, and idiotically racist against white people for supposedly adopting these attitudes. So you can understand why the Smithsonian has been viewed as a political entity rather than historic. Now, the context of the story is that I just saw this ABC News article about Donald Trump saying that, now good, I've lagged myself out because my computer's windows are so many open, but Donald Trump saying he wants to do a review of the Smithsonian, and in the context of this ABC piece, make sure it matches up with his view of American history. Essentially, he's making sure that it's not going to be politically captured. And I'm curious to hear you guys' takes on this, because I have deep reservations about it, but I will acknowledge that the Smithsonian has, without a doubt, become ideologically captured by the left.
So 62% of the Smithsonian's budget comes directly from federal spending.
Okay.
So, I mean, the fact that it already is exhibiting some biases in its framing of history speaks to that it wouldn't do so unless it was either given directive by the federal government, or it at least was given the freedom to kind of say, yeah, you can frame this to go to the other 38% of the donations, which come from, people who put money into trusts or donations or what have you. So that, I'm assuming, is where that has really manifested for like the presentation of history through a much more progressive lens.
Yeah, well, no, thanks for sharing those numbers. So 38 and 62. So I mean, potentially, if you're one of those 38% that's given the 38% of that, of those donations, probably pretty pissed off right now that Trump is coming in saying that he's going to make changes. But I would guess probably if you're, in that 38%, that you're probably, if you're donating to a Smithsonian, you're probably on the left anyway.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, sure. Is this dangerous a little bit? Do you want the President of the United States coming in and potentially changing history, changing exhibits and changing the way that different, materials are presented? Probably not. But at the same time, it's already politicized anyway, probably the other direction. So I can't get mad about this.
I think what's probably most important about it is that people are finally having a conversation of what is actually being presented at the museum, because in a similar way, it's kind of like how COVID and the lockdowns, especially of schools, just alerted everybody, parents in particular, to what their kids were being taught. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, this whole time I was going about thinking that my kids were being taken care of, and they were, being taught, actual history, et cetera. And now that I look into what they're being taught, oh, that's not good. We need to have that conversation. And I think that's kind of a similar thing here. Like, I watched this clip with Jillian Michaels, who she's
I saw this.
I know her from doing like she does like health and fitness and that's and that sort of thing. But she was bringing up examples of the kind of stuff that was on display at the Smithsonian, and what they were the framework that they were using to explain historical events. And for any of you who've ever I've tried to watch the CNN program that she was on, and I feel like the host of it, I don't know, it's like Abby Phillips or something like that. I think she gets paid every time she interrupts somebody. It's something, I don't know if it can't be that I'm becoming like a boomer or something, because boomers are the only ones who watch these fucking shows. But I can't stand when people are just interrupting, especially when they interrupt and say, okay, make your point. And then they interrupt and say, make your point. But I guess that all that is to say that, finally people, are having these conversations on a larger scale, and pointing out like, hey, wait a minute, this is bullshit that you're teaching here, and you can't defend it. And trying to defend everything that you say, by trying to defend every decision by saying, well, it's white supremacy and we're countering white supremacy and systemic racism, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that shit doesn't hold up with every single thing in history,
Well, this just goes back to the insanity during like the 10 years from 2015 or 2015 to like today, where we saw like this left-wing progressive narrative of history, of economics, of like everything, right? The DEI mentality just seeped into our public discourse, and this whole 1619 Project narrative that was really, really pushed during there you go. That's right. From 2020.
I'm talking to the author. Well, sorry. I'm talking to the author of the 1619 Project myth, Philip W. Magnus, in a couple of weeks. So,
Phil Magnus. Great. Yeah. Great guy. And like that right there, I think this is another manifestation of that 1619 mentality that went into our public schooling system. And really, I mean, that was stuff that was being taught to kids in our school systems today. And it's still, in a lot of these more blue states, it's still the underlying curriculum. So the fact that Trump is doing this is telling me that must have seeped into whatever it is that they did at the Smithsonian, to your point, Lou, where, Jillian Michaels walks in, she's like, what the fuck is this? Because that checks exactly in line with what we've seen over the past few years.
I had that exact thing, that exact reaction of walking in, going to an exhibit and going, what the fuck? I went to the Academy of Motion Pictures Museum, right? The Oscars Museum. And the first thing I saw walking in the bottom was, I think it's like North by Northwest was like a famous movie that had like Reagan in it. I think I'm thinking of the
Cary Grant.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's Cary Grant. Yeah,
he's running through a field with an airplane behind him.
I think, and it's got Mount Rushmore as a prominent spectacle in it. So this it had like, the old days of matte painting and how like interesting it was that they use backdrops instead of like visual effects or green screens, and it's got the Mount Rushmore, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I go to read the plaque next to it, and it goes, we'd like to acknowledge that Mount Rushmore is on stolen land. And immediately I was like, fuck you, fuck off. I'm like, I'm not reading any more plaques in this museum. I'd rather not know if you're framing it in this retarded way. Unnecessary aggravation and stupidity. So yeah, probably that. But I mean, I'll go quick. I get that we need to fix it 100%. I guess for me, it's like I'd rather it happen culturally. Now, I'm not talking about the school systems, because the school systems are fucked, and I think that has to be taken from the top down. But for something like art and history, I think that culturally there's going to be a pushback where I'm uncomfortable with the president coming in and saying like it has to align with my definition of history. Because as we're saying, if we're setting that precedent every 4 years, it's like executive orders, it's going to flip-flop back, and history is going to be going back and forth. So it makes me uncomfortable, but I do acknowledge it's a major problem. Like the ideological capture by the left of history and academia and all this shit is ridiculous.
Well, with your example of like Mount Rushmore, I think there's a time when that would just kind of pass, right? And people was like, okay, whatever, walk by it. But now there's the opportunity to be like, who's claiming ownership of it? Is it the Lakota? Okay, who did the Lakota take it from? And then so now that there's a conversation there. I do like the idea of if I had the ear of the president, their PR team, I would say that the president is making history in a way. But it's so funny to see all the people who were very critical of the nerve of Trump to do this. Meanwhile, how many years did we spend removing statues, right? And I'm not just talking about like Confederate statues. Look, I'm a Yankee in the North. I don't give a fuck about the Confederacy. You guys lost.
Jefferson Davis was your favorite president.
But so look, if you want to remove a Jefferson Davis, hey, whatever. But they wanted to remove Thomas Jefferson. They removed Theodore Roosevelt outside of the New York the museum in New York, right? They were removing statues of slave owners and abolitionists because the people are so historically illiterate that they see a statue of a white guy and assume, he must have been a slave owner at the time. And it's like, no, that was actually an abolitionist and a very important figure that you probably should know about. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a thing where there's like, there are no standards to entry to destroying and removing shit or becoming a part of a protest or anything like that. If you want in, just go in on it. So it's been fun. There will be probably a museum exhibit based on our, kind of the nature of this conversation at some point, the erasers of history and shit.
The battle for history. I mean, yeah.
Well, speaking to, wanting to change culture, like Brian just brought up, there's that saying that, I don't know, in the late, I guess, towards the end of 2018, 2019, like before COVID, that, the left won the culture war. Now they're just driving around shooting survivors. I forget who said that originally. There's definitely been a shift there now. I feel like, maybe some of the people that they thought they shot dead are now up and walking around again. So I think, yeah, you can say, yeah, you want it to change, culturally or organically from the base up. But I just feel like the way that our society is structured, it's sort of gatekept to a point, with academia and the institutions, that the only way to get to like those Smithsonians is through executive power, is through the president coming in.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. It's not ideal. Like a lot of the stuff that Trump's doing, I mean, I disagree with. Something like this, though, I understand it, and I really do. I like it. I'm going to cheer it, not necessarily, but I'm okay. Let's see what happens. Let's watch it, see what happens.
Well, and to all the lefties who are losing their flipping minds over this, right? I mean, same church, different pew. This goes right back to the college conversation that we've been seeing over the past few months, where Trump's admin is trying to pull back federal funding to these colleges and universities, and they're all bitching and moaning because he's asking them to change their policy. And the answer is quite obvious: stop accepting federal dollars. Then, like, just remove yourself from the government teat. Allow your backers to actually, put their money where their mouth is, and like build up your institutions separately from the federal government, so you're not having like gems over at the SPLC condemning this kind of action. It's like, okay, what if the SPLC was actually trying to invest into the Smithsonian? Like, stop with the bullshit excuses of why, this is the worst thing ever, and actually like get to work and trying to either build your own outside of those systems, or like take the existing systems and try to make it better. And this is the discourse in America, right? Is that instead of actually addressing the underlying problem, they have to bitch and moan and call somebody racist instead of actually addressing the fundamental issues that are causing this conversation to even start.
So we got a comment here from Corey, who says, "Why do we never talk about reparations for the other side? My family lost big money and property." I assume he's talking about, we were just talking about the Civil War, and the North came in and, burned everything to the ground, basically, and took a lot of property. And not everyone, most of the people, the soldiers who were fighting for the South, they weren't slave owners. They didn't have a bunch of money. They just had property. They had families, and they were fighting to survive. So yeah, that's a fair thing to bring up that nobody ever talks about. And if you do talk about it, you're a white supremacist.
It is. Well, as a counterpoint to that counterpoint, although I would say the same equation would apply, though, right? Because I guess you can trace back land ownership, but you should also be able to trace back slavery lineage, because reparations always like, how do you figure out who gets what? And it's like, it's not all black people. Similarly, just talking about this some more, I was reading some stat that like the percentage of people that owned slaves was so minuscule. Like they're blaming all the South for racism. But yeah, it's like your everyday white person could not in any way purchase a slave. They were very expensive to own. They were like, so many people get lumped into it and died fighting this war, which fighting poor slavery against it, if you want to put it in that context, that have no benefit from it either way. They have no benefit and couldn't afford them. And yet, so if we're going to pay reparations, you're paying all the white people, or are you paying just the people that didn't own slaves? It's very complicated.
Well, yeah, I think Corey, who commented, I guess it would depend. Were your ancestors slaveholders? Because then you do the math of like, okay, how much was destroyed versus how much you got from it, and you do something like that. But Brian, did you? Which one of you guys is having Phil Magnus on?
I'm going to have him on. It's not going to be for a couple weeks just to get our schedules lined. Yeah, I'm going to have him on the first week of August.
Yeah, Phil is phenomenal. And I had him on my podcast a while back, and we talked a little bit about the economics and the financials of slavery, and trying to, and I think it's a really interesting venture to try to put a dollar amount on costs and on all this stuff. Because I mean, one of the questions that I had for him, I was like, I mean, it's kind of, everyone's kind of, concluded that, slavery was just a bad thing all around, not just, the moral, how terrible it was morally, but just also financially, and like how so few of people actually own slaves, And it's like if you're a slaveholder, how do you look to the farmer, next to you and tell him like, no, it's really a good thing that I own people and they're doing all this work and you have to compete with me,
Right, yeah.
It's a really tough thing to sell. And I think it's a really interesting, reality of our country,
Well, this is the, Pat Phil Magnus in the back episode, because I had him on the show as well. And when he was on my show, we were talking about the education system. And it goes back to, why do so many people believe this narrative, right? That every white person back in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s were horrible people who all were either tacitly supporting slavery, or they outright own slaves. And the reality is, when you look at our education system, it is not only predominantly occupied by progressive leftists, but they champion that, and they actually they will go out of their way to almost do these ideological tests on potential new employees, new staff, to weed out the other rabble rousers who are coming from more of a, not even right-wing perspective, even just more of a centrist moderate perspective. It's entirely by design.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the point Odie was making then, there's these people are so embedded. They do gatekeep the shit out of everything. They are ideologically in lockstep. So yeah, that's where the Smithsonian maybe does have to get trumped, as do many other institutions. So lesser of both evils. I don't know.
And that's why the military needs to take to the streets of DC to kick all the homeless people out. Guess that's a different conversation. But
yeah, I don't know if we have time to get into that one. Anything else? Any final thoughts, guys, before we wrap it up?
This is like the first time we've had all four of us on a politics in a while. I like it.
I think it's the second time we've had all four, but yeah, it's been a while.
Well, there's a fifth member, and it's John's CIA mustache. So.
I thought you were going to say Phil Magnus, but he's just
that is true.
Yeah, he might as well be honorary member. I'm going to send him a placard in the mail.
And he's going to say, please lose my number. Just don't contact me again.
All right. Well, from me, from Lou Perez, from John Odermatt, from Brian Nichols, from the Lions of Liberty Network, where, of course, you can find this show if you're not listening to the solo feed, which also exists. I want to say thank you. Remember, they're all bloodsuckers, and try not to shed a tear as you listen to the swan song of our former intro music.
So yeah.
Say goodbye. Damn it, Lou. Stop it. I don't have the money to pay you.
Let's begin.
Oh.
Are we back on?
I was singing along with the theme song, so yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I hit it. It didn't play. It started.
Try it again.
We're
I'll
still
try it
live.
on my side. I'll try it on my side.
You do it. Yeah.
Bye.
Oh,
yeah.